Hello, I'm Simon. Welcome back to the workshop. Now, in a previous video, I built this router table for my WorkMATE, and in this video, I want to address one of the problems it has, which is that it's not that easy to turn on and off because I have to reach underneath in order to do that. So in this video, I want to make an easily accessible on and off switch. Let's get tinkering. Now, if you've got a WorkMATE and you haven't actually built the PowerMATE accessory, then go and have a look at that video. It's a great accessory that just sits inside the WorkMATE, can even stay there when it's folded up, and it gives you access to an extension lead whenever you might need it. In this video, I'm going to be modifying that so that it incorporates a remote NVR switch, and this will allow me to control the router much easier. Now, I'm not an electrical engineer, and the regulations varies by country. In the UK, it's okay for a consumer to mess around with anything that's got a plug on, i.e. an extension lead. So I'm going to show you what I'm doing, but I'm asking you not to follow it yourselves, but to do your own research in your country, even if you're in the UK, before you make any changes to your electrical systems. In the UK, 240 volts can kill you. I guess it can probably kill you in any country, but we're taught from a very young age not to mess around with mains power. So what I effectively am doing is we're starting with a 240 volts in, it's going into the NVR switch, and then the NVR switch is going to go into the PowerMATE double extension, and then the router will be plugged in to that extension lead like normal. So there's no changes at all to the router. And all I'm doing in effect is putting an NVR switch on the flex before it goes into the extension lead itself. Now I want to be able to mount this here so that it's at the front of the WorkMATE, in front of the area that I'll be using when I'm using the router. So my plan is to use a combination of the dog holes and this magnetic strip so that I can have a unit that can be securely fastened here, but if I ever want to take it off, it's quite easy to remove. So this will go here like this, and I'm thinking I'll have a little flap that goes down that engages the off button. So to start it up, you'd lift the flap up, press the button, the router will start, and to stop it, you just hit the flap. Much the same as the way I made the emergency stop on my flip up router table on my main workbench. So I need to check that the parts that I'm going to use are going to be rated high enough. So these are 10 amp parts, and this is rated at 10 amps as well. So power equals current times the volts, which means that current equals the power divided by the volts. So if I put in the power of the router divided by the voltage of the main supply, then I get 7.7 amps. Because these are 10 amps, all's going to be fine. I start cutting the parts for the NVR switch enclosure. This part will be the front of the enclosure. This is the first time I've ever used this scroll saw, so don't judge me too harshly. I recently published a video all about the restoration of this tool. If you're enjoying this video, why not consider subscribing? It's completely free, and it just means that you'll start to see some of my videos in your YouTube feed. I've made this card template to work out the shape the sides need to be, and I've cut 2 of these. I'm actually going to make it slightly taller so that I can trim it, because I've already made the front and it needs to fit the front exactly. Using the first one as a template for the second, I cut the second side piece. I cut out all the parts needed for the enclosure and then begin assembly. If you're enjoying this video, please consider leaving a like. If you're interested in modifications to your WorkMATE, then at the end of this video I'll leave a link to a playlist of all the mods that I've done. While waiting for the parts to dry, I start work on rewiring the PowerMATE extension lead and NVR switch. Now, not all kettle leads are the same. If you're going to reuse a kettle lead like I am, then you need to make sure that the plug that's attached to it is rated at 13 amps. you'll find some of these are only rated at 5 amps, even though the standard for these kettle plugs is supposed to be 10 amps. Okay, for the reasons I've already mentioned, I've not videoed me doing the wiring. Let me just take you through a few tips. First of all, this has earth neutral and live. The plug has earth neutral and live. The NVR switch only has live and neutral. So I've made sure the earth goes all the way through from here to here to here and then onto this box. This box is metal, so it has to be earthed. Another thing to consider with these connectors is to make sure that the one that can be possibly live is always this one. It's never this one, because you can touch the pins on this one. So this must always be the thing that receives power, never gives power. So this is the one that would be live, and I'll plug it in. Now the reason I've done that is if I ever want to use this with just a kettle lead, then I can still use my Power Buddy just using a kettle lead and not using the NVR switch. If I want to incorporate the NVR switch, then I'll just plug it in, and that's the thing that's got the extension lead on. The extension lead will still foil round the NVR switch, so there's no problems there really. And those were the main tips I wanted to mention when it comes to doing the electrics. Just make sure you know what you're doing, and if you don't, get a qualified electrician to help you. If you're enjoying this video, please consider leaving a like. These plastic dogs are my own design, 3D printed. I've used them on lots of projects. I was a little sceptical at first on how well they would work, but having now used them on lots of projects, I can tell you they work great. It's very satisfying making something completely unique. If you enjoy my approach to making things, then please let me know in the comments. Together we can create a great maker community that's for everyone. I now need to make the emergency stop switch. These are really simple and also act to prevent accidental operation of the tool. Now I've already tried this in the dog holes and it's pretty solid, so it doesn't really need this piece of metal here. But if you'll remember, there's a magnetic strip that corresponds to where this piece of metal is going to be. So I've adhered this piece of metal to the box just to add a little bit of extra security. So this will connect the box to the magnetic strip. This is just a cheap feeler gauge. I bought a load of shim stock for the tools on my lathe. I can now refit the PowerMATE, plug in the router and the NVR switch, then refit the router table into the WorkMATE. So I've built this NVR switch with emergency stop for my PowerMATE, and I can use it with my WorkMATE router table or any other tool that I choose to plug into the PowerMATE extension lead accessory. If you've enjoyed this video and you'd like to see more like it, then please subscribe. If you know anyone that you think might like this video, then please share it, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.